All right, this is an example for number 6. On problem number 6, you could be asked to do one of two things here. You could be asked to write a congruency statement, or you could be asked to write congruency statements for all the matching parts or corresponding parts in the figure. So, how do I write a congruency statement? Basically, I have to figure out which parts correspond and are congruent, of course. And in order to do that, more or less, we're just going to look at the size of each side. Sometimes you can go by the angles, if enough are given. But in this case, and in most of them on the quiz, you'll notice the size of each side is fairly different, so you'll be able to tell them apart. So, for example, these two are obviously my shortest sides. All right? This would be my next largest side, and this guy would be my largest side. So let's look at this, because I need to first figure out, since A is my first letter in my name up here, remember that the letters over here have to go in corresponding order. In other words, if A starts, I need the angle that corresponds with A to be the first letter in the name of the congruency statement. So here, A corresponds with, if you look at it, it's the short side and the medium-sized side where they come together. And that would be over here in this figure. So that would be B. Okay? So B corresponds with A. Now X over here doesn't have an angle measure. That's okay, though, because if we look at it, it's the shorter side and the longer side that are coming together to make that. Well, that would be those two over here, so that would be T. And then the final one would be L. Obviously, my options are limited here. I'm down to one letter, so it must be E in this case. Okay? Now, once you have a congruency statement, it's really easy to match up corresponding parts because the corresponding parts had to line up in the names of the congruency statement. Okay? And I think on all the ones where they ask you to match up corresponding parts, they give you a congruency statement already written. If you don't, just write one. Okay, because once you have it written, it becomes very easy. So in other words, over here, where we're looking at finding angle A is congruent to, it's basically wherever A is, its congruent corresponding part is in the same position. So this would be B. So angle A is congruent to B because they're both the first letters. X will be congruent to T because those are the middle letters, and L is congruent to E. Those are the last letters in those two names. Okay, so it should be fairly easy. Okay, same thing for the sides. Okay, look at where the letters fall in the names. All right, so like the first one's EB. So that's E. E corresponds with L, so it's going to be L. And then B corresponds with A because they're both the first letter, B, A. So B corresponds with A, so LA is congruent to EB. BT is the first two letters in the name over here, so it's the first two letters over here that correspond and are congruent. So AX is the segment that is congruent to BT. And the last one, ET, last two letters. Okay, so let's first look at E. E is the last letter, and it corresponds with L. So I'm going to put L first. And then T is the second letter in the name of my segment here. So let's look at T. T is the middle letter. X is our other middle letter. And so segment ET is congruent to segment LX. So you don't even really need the diagram unless you're writing the congruency statement. All right? If this still does not make sense, make sure, as always, you ask one of your teachers.